Hello and welcome back. This is Jennifer. So glad you're here. Today I am giddy because I get to have Lydia Evans as a guest artist. Now, Lydia is very good at techniques, at card design, and at color. And you're going to see a little bit of all of that today. I'm really excited to try the technique that she did for coloring these images. And also she shares a great idea towards the end on what to do with your leftover foil. I am also really happy because she's using some products I showed in a previous video, but wasn't able to use because of my bum shoulder, and so you get to see those products in action now. I really enjoyed this video and I hope you do too.
Hello there everyone and welcome. Hello, I am Lydia Evans. I'm the creative ambassador over at Altenew. And I'm just so excited to be here with you all. So today I am going to be creating these two cards using some of the fabulous products from the November release at Altenew. First up, I'm going to be using the Floral Moths hot foil plate. I have the two moths and also a sentiment on my hot foil machine, and these have nicely heated up to a temperature. I then have some of the rose gold foil from Altenew, and I'm just placing that down, shiny side down, and then a piece of cardstock that I wish to hot foil. This is 4 1/4 by 5.5 classic Crest solar white. I'm also going to add a couple of shims because I know that my machine needs those shims. Do not add shims if you do not need to and your foiling is perfect without it. You do not need them. I'm then going to run that through my die cutting machine so it presses the beautiful foil into the white cardstock that we have. So once that has been done, I'm just going to pop that on top because I am going to do that again. Now I'm going to remove the foil. Very exciting, yet a little bit scary at the same time. My best thing about hot foiling is that little process that we've just done there. You can see just how beautifully that has done. And I did that a further 2 times, as well as changing out the sentiment too, just so we can use them on 2 different projects. I'm then going to just do all of the sentiments that we have in the hot foil set. So I've just lined that up on my hot foiling machine, again adding some of that rose gold foil and some white cardstock again. Again, I'm adding those shims in. Please don't use them if you don't need to. I don't want anyone jamming their machine. I just know that mine needs a little bit of extra pressure when I'm using the GoPress and foil with the Spellbinders machine there. So once that has been done, I'm just going to remove that again. And then here are all of the foiled images that I have. So I have 3 of the beautiful foiled moths. I did change the sentiment from each of those, and then I have these sentiments that I can use as strips onto my cards. I am then going to fussy cut around the images, and I am leaving a little gap around the largest ones, but then on the ones that I cut afterwards, I am going to cut those up to that foil line. So here are all the images that we have. I know that you don't want to see me fussy cut all of these images, so I have shown you here exactly what we're going to cut. So for the smaller moth, I have cut the full image. I've then cut the 2 kind of pairs of leaves, and then I've also cut the top leaf separate. For the larger moth, we have the full image, then we have the body and the top leaves, and then just the body here. So that is what I have cut from those images that we've just foiled. I'm then going to colour these in, but to save on time a little bit, I'm going to do ink blending and then I'm going to colour with pencils on top of that. So I am going to start by colouring in the little bodies that we have, and I'm going to go in with the Forest Glade ink. I'm just using a mini blending tool to add the ink onto the body. You could use a different one if that's what you have. I just find that these work really well for these little small areas that we have here. I am trying to add more of the ink towards the bottom rather than the top, so we do get that beautiful gradient effect. I'm then going to be moving on to the wings that we have. So I have some of the very pretty Mountain Mist ink. This is such a beautiful kind of soft teal aqua colour. I am going to be adding that on to the smaller moth wings, and I'm trying to colour in the bottom wing. So I'm not going to worry too much about that largest wing that we have on the top. I'm just trying to colour that bottom one. Once that's been done, I'm going to move on to Sunray. I just love this buttery kind of yellow colour here. And I am trying to colour those base wings, again on this one. So I'm trying to colour in the ones that are at the bottom. So I'm trying to add more of this ink just at the top of the wing rather than the tip, so we get that gradient effect. To kind of deepen that, I decided to go with a different ink colour as well, and this is chamomile. I'm just going to add a touch of that just where the wing touches the body. Again, I'm using a mini blending tool to do that. I'm then going to move on to the singular wings that we have for the smaller moth, and I'm going to add the same colours that we did for the first wings on the larger one. So I've gone in with the Sunray again, trying to add more of that ink to the base of the wing rather than the tip, and then darkened that up using some of the chamomile ink. We're then going to move on to the top wings of the largest moth, and I am going to start with the very pretty rose quartz. I am trying to add more of that ink to the base of these leaves rather than the tips to get that gradient effect. To darken that up a little bit and to add a little bit more interest, I am going to use a darker ink, and this is the Puffy Heart ink that I'm just trying to add at the base of those there. Now I have the kind of base colour for all of my images. I'm going to move on to colouring in the details that we have on that hot foiling. So I am going to be using the Woodless colouring pencils from Altenew, and I'm going to use some various different colours to colour in these images. So for the details that I have on this little body that I'm colouring in of the largest moth, I am going to go in with the Shadow Creek. I'm also going to add some yellow in there as well to add a little bit more interest, and for that I am using the Maple Yellow. Once that has been done, I'm going to move on to a different part. I'm going to move on to the little flowers that we have on the other moth, and I'm going to be using the Rubellite pencil to add in the colour as well as the very pretty ruby red. So I'm going to use that ruby red just at the base of all of those little flowers that we have there. And then I'm going to come in once I've used the red, and I'm going to use the pink again just to kind of blend out that colour and then finish off the rest of the petals. So I'm only really adding half of the petal colour with the ruby red, and then I'm going to go in with the very pretty Rubellite to kind of blend that colour out a little bit and then finish off the rest of the image. So you're going to get that really pretty kind of two-tone effect with the coloured pencils that we have here. I'm not really spending too long on this. I am just doing it very simply, but I do think by just adding those two colours together, you are going to get a really pretty effect on this one. So once the flowers have been coloured, I'm then going to move on to the leaves of the same wing, and I'm going to be using the Shadow Creek ink to add those in. I am trying to add more of the kind of pigment or colour to the base of the little leaf than the tip, but even if you just did the same pressure all the way over it, it's still going to look great. It's kind of a small image, so it's not going to really make too much of a difference there. So for the kind of base leaf that we have on this smaller one, I'm just going to colour in the little piece that we have poking out and also the edging. So for this here, I am going to be using the Desert Night ink. So I'm just going to quickly kind of scribble in some colour to all of those little open areas there. So once that has been done, we then have the little body on the other one to do. I am going to add some of this Desert Night to the eyes and the bottom piece of the other body that we had on the other side. I just thought that that would add a little bit more interest to that one there. So I'm just going to use the Desert Night as well, just to add a little bit more detail into the body of this one that we have, as well as some of the Shadow Creek pencil too. I'm then going to move on to the base leaves, or the bottom leaves that we have on the largest moth. I'm just going to use the same colors as we did for the other flowers. So we have the ruby red for the kind of base of the petals that we have. And then we're going to be using the rubellite to blend out that color and add the rest of the color to the rest of the flowers. Once I have finished coloring those very pretty little flowers in there, we're then going to add in some color or detail to the kind of open areas that we have on these wings border. So I am going to be using the very pretty Volcano Lake, one of my favorite colors, just to add in a little bit more of that kind of blue color there. I then decided I wanted it a little bit darker, so I am going to add some of the Desert Night pencil just to the base, but then I decided that that wasn't the right pencil that I wanted. So once I had tried that one, I then grabbed the Galactic Stream, and I find that this worked a lot better. So I am going to use this instead of the Desert Night. I wanted to show you that I did make a little mistake, but I did rectify it just by going over with a different color. So this is the Galactic Stream. Then once I have added that to the base, I then kind of was happy with the color that I had. I am then going to add in the leaves again with that Shadow Creek pencil that we have there. All we have now is this piece here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color to the border of this. And I'm just using the ruby red. The leaves and everything else as they are look very, very pretty. So I'm not going to kind of try and add anything else into the wing apart from just adding the color around the outside edge. So once that has been done, that is all of the coloring complete, and then I can kind of add my images together to create this layered die cut look that we have at the end. What I'm going to do first is I am going to shape all of the little wings. So I'm just going to kind of fold them back a little bit and curl them around. So it looks like that they do have a little bit of a dimension. Once that's been done, we can then go ahead and stick all of these pieces together. I am going to be using a double-sided adhesive from Altenew. This is the Instant Dimension foam tape. And I'm just going to cut pieces of this and add this along the piece that I have with the body and then the wings of the largest little butterfly moth that we have. Once I'm happy with the amount of adhesive that I have on the back of this one, I will remove the backing and then pop that into place onto the base image. So the base image is the one that we have on our little sticky mat from Altenew. And just to add a little bit more dimension to this one here, so it looks like the wings, are popping up a little bit more, I am going to add a double layer to the little adhesive pieces that I have on the tips of the wings. So I'm just going to add that into place. Once that has been done, I can then remove all of the backing, and then we're going to be able to pop this piece into place onto the little base image that we have. So that's the one that we have the back wings on that are colored yellow. So I'm just going to kind of push those up a little bit, and then I can pop that into place, and you can see that it's going to look that this wing is on top of the one that we have below it, and we have that extra dimension with the double-sided adhesive on the edge of the wings. Once that's been done, we can then add some adhesive onto his little body. I'm just going to add a touch here. You could use different adhesive if you wanted to. If you didn't want this piece to be up as much, you could definitely use some flat glue to add this into place as well. So I am just going to remove the backing that we have on there and then pop him into place. And that is the first of our beautiful floral moths all ready to go. I just love how pretty and summery is. I know we're not in summer anymore, but I'm still holding on to it. I'm still holding on. I'm keeping it. So once I finished with the largest moth, I'm going to move on to the smaller one. I'm just going to add some of the adhesive to these wings here. If you wanted to, you could add double pieces onto the top rather than the bottom, but I just decided to add the same amount all the way over these wings that we have here. So once we have added all that adhesive on the back, some beautiful double-sided tape, we're just going to add the leaves into position. And these really line up easily because you're just popping these on to the same image that is below it. So all you need to do is make sure that you're getting everything in within the cut lines and everything should go swimmingly. Once that has been done, all we have to do then is add on those top leaves. So again, we're just going to do as we did before. We're going to add some of that instant dimension foam tape behind the top wing and then pop it into place. I just love how these look. I think they look so, so cute. And I do love the mix of the ink blending as well as the pencil coloring. So you can definitely kind of layer mediums when you work. So you don't necessarily have to color everything in with the same medium. You can really play around with it. I did want to stick the edges of my wings down to the body. So I'm just going to add a touch of the Gina K Connect glue just right at the tips of those leaves. And then I am going to hold that down just while that glue goes off a little bit. For my background, I'm going to be using the Honeycomb Daisies cover die, and we're going to use this to create a die cut front card. So this is going to cover the front of my card base and it's going to cut into it. So I have a top folding card base here, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's the classic Crest Solar White. And I'm just going to line this up right at the top edge of that fold line. Now this won't cut the kind of piece itself, but it will add little dots, and it's also going to cut out the little flowers. So it's really easy to kind of do with this technique. So I am going to pop that in my die cutting machine. I'm placing that down fully on the bottom cutting plate, but the top one I'm just going to add right on the line of that fold line. I don't want it to go above. I just want that just where it is, so it is going to cut the front of my card base. I just love how this looks. I am so, so happy with the result, and it just looks ever so pretty. I did add a little bit of tape to my die and my card before I ran that through my die cutting machine, and I'm just going to carefully remove that. The tape that I did use was the satin masking tape from Altenew, and that works perfectly for this kind of technique. If there are any little pieces that are still left in the card base, you may want to get a little pin just to remove those, but mine nearly all waited in the die, which I then had to remove before I did the next card, but it worked perfectly. I then have my sentiment strips, and I'm just going to cut these using my guillotine trimmer. I'm just lining them up with the little guard that we have there, just so I have the same edge on the top and the bottom, and I'm going to leave the sides as they are. So then we can use these on like strips of sentiments onto different shaped cards, different size cards, and then you can keep these for whenever you need them. I always find that it's best to work in bulk when you create sentiments, so you can have these right off to the side, so you can just pop these on cards whenever you need to. So once I have finished trimming this one, I am going to use 2 of these on my cards that I'm created, and I'm going to have one left over that I can use for future projects, which I always find is handy. I always find having sentiments is great just to have off to the side. I am going to create a kind of piece of mirrored cardstock or foiled cardstock for my sentiment strips. And to do that, I'm taking the ultra sticky tape from Altenew, and this is the inch width, and I'm just going to add 3 of those onto a piece of classic Crest Solar White. This was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It was just a card base that I have off to the side. I'm then going to remove the top piece of that, and I'm going to use the waste that we have from the rose gold hot foil when we did our foiling right at the beginning of this video. I'm going to use that waste foil to create that background piece. I just love using up waste foil. I hate chucking any of this away because it's so pretty, so shiny, and there's always ways that you can use it. And this is a great way to use up kind of waste that you may have, and you can create your own little elements with it that way. So I did do all 3 strips, and then once I have those, I am then going to trim them. I'm just going to trim them right on the lines. So I then have 3 of the inch strips for these pieces here. And also, because I do have 3 of these and not 2 for my cards, I do have one of these that I can use on a future project as well. You could even use this to die cut simple elements too. That would be cool. So I'm then going to have all of my elements ready, and then we can pop our cards together. So I have our little base strip created with the waste foil. Then we have our sentiment strip that I'm going to pop on the top of this. I'm going to be using some of the ultra sticky tape from Altenew, and I'm going to be using the 1/2 inch to add the little sentiment strip to the base foiled piece that we've just created. So I'm just going to add the adhesive right on the back of that, and then we're going to pop that into place. I find that it's always easier to add the adhesive onto the piece that you want to stick on top of something. So that means that you're not going to have adhesive showing that way. We can then play around with where you want that little strip to be. And remember, you are going to want your little critter on there as well. So I'm using the Miss You sentiment, as well as the very pretty Love You So as well. So we're going to have Love You So on one and the Miss You on the other. And I can use the thank you sentiment that I also have onto a different project later on. So we are going to add these strips, and I want to make sure that I don't add the strip into place while we have the card closed, because it will stick to the backing because we have those die cut flowers on the front. We don't want that adhesive to go through that flower and then stick itself to the back. So that's why I'm going to open that card up before I line this up using the gridded lines on my cutting mat. This is the Altenew cutting mat, and then I'm going to pop those into place. So once I have those 2 pieces down, I'm then gonna kind of cut off the excess. I find that it's easy to cut off the excess now rather than later, because we are already going through kind of 2 layers of cardstock at this point, and I don't want to wait until we've put the backing on to then have to go through 3 layers of cardstock. You can see that I have another kind of strip of cardstock, just plain white at the bottom. I have added some of the ultra sticky tape to that one, and this is going to act as a kind of barrier to the adhesive that we have on the front of the card. So I'm just going to place this right into position on the back, and that is going to cover up any adhesive that is going to go through those die cut flowers. Once that's been done, we're then going to trim off any overhanging pieces there. So as you can see, it's easier to cut this as it is right now, and then add the other piece on, and then add a little bit of extra trimming. But I find that it's easier to do smaller, thinner layers than trying to go through 3 pieces of cardstock at once. Once that has been done, all we need to do now is add on our fabulously layered critters that we have here. I am making sure that I am adding that adhesive of the ultra sticky foam tape just on the back, and where it's going to be kind of hidden with that band sentiment that we have. We don't want this to go over that, and then we're going to have the same trouble as we did with things sticking to the back of cards. And here are the cards complete. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you like the cards as well. It would be great if you do give these cards a go, if you could share, because we always love to check them out. I have to say, I love how these turned out. I love that little die cut image that we get right at the front of the card base that you can look through the inside of the card. I love those foiled elements as well as the different coloring techniques. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you very much, Jennifer, for letting us be here. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Lydia, and I am hoping that all of you are as excited to try out these ideas as I am. If you also want to get a closer look at the supplies Lydia used, I will put them in my links below in my YouTube description. I will also link there to Lydia's YouTube channel so you can see more of her work. At the end here, I'll link to Lydia's channel and also to a related video if you're looking for more inspiration. Thank you for spending this time with us, and I'll be back with another video very soon.